It is. The holy grail of Christmas gifts, the Red Ryder 200-shot range model air rifle.
Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
'Tis the season to be merry.
Well, that's my name.
Oh, shit.
And thank you for joining us for, I guess, the Christmas special of the Containment Unit. I'm Tony.
I'm Lindsay.
And for Christmas, we're going to kind of do what we did for Halloween. Again, we are big movie buffs. We love watching film. So we decided that with Halloween as well as Christmas, apart from, the other festivities of the holiday, there are movies that we have to watch every Christmas.
I think we do a better job at Christmas than Halloween of getting through them.
Well, I think with Halloween, we've got too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like 2 large stacks
Yeah.
of Blu-rays and DVDs, and I think we got through half of them this year, if that.
Well, also, October nowadays used to be shows and specials and stuff like that. They started in like September. Now they start in October, right when you're breaking out the Halloween movie. So it's like, but we got to watch this, and we got to watch this, and we're behind on this. And it's like, oh, there's not enough time to watch all the shows and all the movies. And
We've got to watch the Halloween special of NCIS.
I know. Right?
But with Christmas, we don't have as big of a collection. I'm looking at it right now, and it actually looks kind of minuscule compared to the Halloween collection. But we have some phenomenal movies up here.
And the TV shows go into hiatus at that time.
Exactly. So we, there's reruns on TV. We have the opportunity. And plus, with the Christmas movies, we can watch a higher percentage of these with our
kids,
children up.
yeah.
With the Halloween films,
It's like, no, that one has language. That one has boobs. That one has a lot of gore. That doesn't work.
We have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, both girls, and I think they might be just a little too young for Return of the Living Dead or, Evil Dead, the remake and stuff like that. So
they liked Army of Darkness.
Yeah, they like Army of Darkness, but you won't let me show them Evil Dead 2 yet.
No.
Next year, I'm showing that to Maddie. When she's 9.
No.
I think that's old enough.
Oh my gosh. I can't even get an actual sentence out on that one.
So we're going to break this down. Each of us are going to give you our 5 favorite movies to watch at Christmas. And I was struggling with my list up until I think about 5 minutes ago for the number 5 spot.
Okay.
And then I thought to myself, okay, I'm all set. And we sit down, and I looked back just a second ago to comment about the stacks of movies here. And I go, oh shit, there's another one. So I'm a little iffy on what's going to be number 5 here. So,
well, I technically have 7, so
Okay, so you're going to cheat. So why don't you go ahead and go first?
Well, let's see here.
Well, first, let me ask you this: Are we going to go in order of, in your case, 7? But are we going to go in all the way up to the top one, or are you just going to go random?
I'm just going to go random. Okay. I don't really have these in any particular order.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason why I've got 7 on here is because 3 of them are kind of lumped together as Christmas Carol.
Okay, I perfectly understand what you're getting at there. Okay.
And that is the Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey.
Okay, yeah, the Disney's Christmas Carol.
Disney's Christmas Carol, yeah. The live action, not live action, the CGI,
yeah,
and everything. The motion capture.
Yes,
that's what I was looking for. Motion capture, and it's got Gary Oldman in it. How can you not love something with Gary Oldman? Then Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
I actually have 2 of the songs from the soundtrack on my phone in my Christmas playlist. And then the musical Scrooge with Albert Finney.
That is definitely a good one.
That one, that's actually the number 1 on my list.
Okay.
That's the number 1 on my list because I grew up watching that with my mom every year. And it wasn't until getting it on Blu-ray last year, I think, that I realized there's a whole scene in it that I had never seen before. Because I had always watched it based on the recording VHS recording that my mom had done off of the TV.
Oh, so yeah, it was like edited for time.
Yeah, it was either edited for time or the VHS screwed up, and so that part was always cut out. I think it was edited for time though, and so I never even knew that this one scene was in there. It's Scrooge in hell being tormented by Jacob Marley.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this scene before. I'm calling my mom up going, did you know this was there? She's like, no, I had no clue. But one of the things I like about the Disney Christmas Carol is, aside from some liberties of exaggerating it, like making him really tiny going through the tubes during the Christmas Future stuff.
I don't remember. Wasn't that straight from the story?
I don't think that part is, no. But the Ghost of Christmas Past is, where he's the flame. Yeah. And he carries the what's that thing called, the little put outer?
Like the snuffer.
The snuffer. Yeah, the carrying the snuffer with. Yeah. And Scrooge takes the snuffer and puts him out when he's like, no, I can't take it anymore and everything. But he doesn't like shoot off into the sky and break Atmo and then come back down.
I remember they said one of the things that they really liked about being able to do the motion capture edition was that it gave them the ability to actually represent some of the more fantastic parts of the story that you couldn't do in live action for the past so many decades that we've gotten these interpretations.
Right. Well, it is actually if you read it, it's actually a pretty short story. Like, I can get through it in like a night if I'm not being distracted constantly. It's not a very long story, but it is very but it's a very good story. They managed to get, like, the only thing that they never actually explain is, like, how did his sister die? What happened to his nephew's dad? You don't learn that stuff. But you also don't know what's wrong with Tiny Tim. But people who have read the book and are big, like, Dickens fans, they've come to the conclusion he probably has something like rickets.
Yeah.
So,
because it was prevalent at the time.
Yeah, it was prevalent at the time, and they were poor and stuff like that. But so it's just basic stuff like that it has no bearing on the emotion of the story.
Yeah.
But Scrooge, the musical with Albert Finney, that's my favorite of them because of growing up with it. And then Muppet Christmas Carol.
I cannot, to this day, get over that part. I don't even remember where it is in the movie, where they're just panning over, there are Muppets singing, and then one of them gets hit in the face.
And with like a symbol or something.
Like with a symbol, and just does this like really shocked, like curled in mouth look, and just falls over. And every time we watch that, I've got to repeat. I got to go back and hit repeat just to watch it a couple times because it's the best part of the movie for me.
And one of the things that I like about that one is it's being narrated.
Yeah.
And not just like at the very end by Bob Cratchit, like in Disney's Christmas Carol or anything, but the whole thing is being narrated by Gonzo as Charles Dickens, quotation marks. Like, he's like, I am Charles Dickens, and he's doing that. And then Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge. Michael Caine, yeah, as Ebenezer Scrooge and everything. And then you got I almost said Jiminy Cricket. So not Jiminy Cricket. Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy as the Cratchits. You got these little frog and pig children.
It's just, and Tiny Tim is just this little frog, and I just go, no. I wanted to see some freakish.
No, don't. No, I don't want to. Oh my gosh. But it's got really good songs in it. Like Kermit sings One More Sleep Till Christmas. And that's a really good song. And I've also got one in there with the Ghost of Christmas Present singing. And this is what I believe, he's so absent-minded the Ghost of Christmas Present is so absent-minded because he lives in the present.
Yeah.
He has no mind for anything that's happened in the past or anything that's going to happen in the future. So Scrooge will say, "What about this that happened like 5 minutes ago?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh yeah." He's so funny. But,
Well, the great thing is that Michael Caine played it serious.
yes, he did.
And when they hired him, he told them, "I'm going to play this like I am playing it for the Royal Shakespeare Production Company. I'm going to act like my co-stars are actual people. I'm not going to act like I'm playing to puppets."
Right.
And I think that is what really works here. Because a lot of Muppet films now, it's not genuine.
Yeah, well, like the most recent ones with the guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Jason Segel.
Yeah, Jason Segel.
Well, he only did the Muppets, and then they
Right.
did the Muppets Most Wanted, and he was not in that one.
Yeah, but I know that in the Muppets with Jason, and he was one of the writers for that, I think,
Yeah,
too.
he's a huge Muppets fan.
Yeah, it is acknowledged that they are puppets to a degree, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
You know, they're like artificial intelligent puppets or something. Yeah,
That movie had a lot going for it and a lot going against it. Mm-hmm. But
back onto Christmas movies.
yeah, back on to Christmas movies. I do want to throw in a Christmas Carol interpretation.
Okay.
That's not a movie.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. The real Ghostbusters.
Okay.
The old cartoon.
Right.
They have an episode where they're walking through New York, and for some reason they inadvertently pass through a time portal and go back to the time of Charles Dickens and Scrooge and find out that Scrooge is a real man. Mm-hmm. They're the Ghostbusters. They're there with their proton packs, and they see somebody being accosted by a ghost, so they trap the ghosts. And come to find out, they were trapping the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. They get back to their time, and everybody's just a miser. Everyone's just, oh, bah, humbug. Everybody's just miserable. They're penny pinchers. There's no such thing as Christmas. And it's because Scrooge never was shown the error of his ways. Huh. So they realize what they did. So they go back in time, and like Peter has to dress up as the ghost of Christmas past, and like they're trying to recreate everything while Egon is trying to get the ghosts out of the containment unit, because they've already put them in. Mm-hmm. So they've got to go into the containment unit and get the spirits out to fulfill what actually happened in Dickens' work. And it's a lot of fun. It's a fun episode.
I want to see that one that just came out, The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Oh, yes, with Dan Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like that's going to be pretty
Yeah,
good.
I want to see it. It's got a decent rating.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not bad, but not like, oh my gosh, it's the best film ever.
So, this is the one I was struggling in. I'm going to kind of try to go in order from 5 to 1.
Okay.
So, number 5 on my list, I was playing around with several different options. Ernest Saves Christmas. Because I've loved that since I was a kid. It is crap. It is so cheesy, but it's just a lot of fun. And if you don't love Ernest from at least like the first several films he did, you have no soul. He was just Jim Varney was just so lovable in almost anything he did.
I loved him when I was a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is annoying.
Well, you have no soul. But I also was looking at things like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a bit of a stretch to call it a Christmas film, but it's a Shane Black film. It takes place at Christmas, like Lethal Weapon and
Iron Man
3, The Long Kiss Goodnight. You know, most of his films take place at Christmas. And I got down to 3 films.
Okay.
First was Die Hard. And I'm like, I love it. I watch it every year. I do think it's a Christmas movie, but it's not enough of a Christmas movie for me.
Okay.
Then I got to Trading Places.
Oh, that's on my list.
Okay, so since that's on your list, I'm going to go ahead and skip that for a little bit and we'll talk. But my number 5, Love Actually.
That's on my list too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Love Actually is since it's officially my number 5, we'll go ahead and jump into that.
Okay.
I'm not big on romantic films, chick flicks that are more Americanized.
You know, people can't see your quotation marks.
I know, you know,
Your
with bunny rabbit ears. The American films that are chick flicks and all that kind of thing, I just, they annoy me. But for some reason, I love the British ones. Love Actually, Notting Hill. I love those movies. And Love Actually, it is a love story, but it really uses the feel of Christmas to tell these love stories. And what's great about it is not all of them are happy stories.
Right.
And not all of them have a happy ending.
Yeah.
And you know, some of them two stories I think got cut from the final. There's Emma Thompson's son, his school principal had a whole subplot where she's in a long-term relationship with her lover, and her lover is dying of cancer. Right. And her lover was played by, I cannot remember the actress's name, but she was Madame Maxine in the Harry Potter films.
Oh, was she?
The giantess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's in that, and part of that whole subplot, the other subplot that they had to cut out was the son was a much more featured character. Yeah. And he was a big troublemaker, a pain in the ass. And
well, that's the thing. The principal actually liked him and thought he was funny, but she had to maintain a sense of order and rule in the school and wasn't able to show it. You know?
Because like one of the things that they show in the deleted scenes is he did an essay on, you know, what would you like for Christmas? And what he wanted for Christmas was for one day to see people's farts. So he would be watching like the Pope blessing everybody in Rome, and then you see this cloud come up behind him, or you know, the Queen is sitting there, look all prim and proper, and she leans over and a cloud shoots out, that kind of thing. But for Love Actually, it's one of those films that...
Can you imagine what that would look like on the streets?
Oh, good God. It would be just fog everywhere, especially around Taco Bell. But with this movie, it's one of those of multiple storylines crossing over. Mm-hmm. It's not really an anthology movie. It's kind of like, you know, Trick or Treat. We talked about that. We finally got to watch it this year for Halloween. Really good. And that's an anthology movie where you've got several completely different stories. They just happen to be overlapping a little bit, but all of this is just overlapping. And you've got an American woman who lives over here with her mentally handicapped brother. Yeah. He's in an institution and she's in love with one of her coworkers. Yeah. And her boss is
Alan
Rickman, who is having an emotional affair with his secretary. Right. And his wife is Emma Thompson, who is best friends with Liam Neeson. His wife just died, and it's just
and he has custody of his stepson.
Yeah, of his stepson. And it's all just so interconnected, but it doesn't get jumbled. Right. And that's one of the things that I love about it. And by the end of it, you feel for, I would say, almost everybody. The only ones that I think I'm just kind of whatever are the
Colin Frizzle.
No, I like Colin Frizzle. Here comes Colin Frizzle, and he's got a big knob.
But do you actually feel for him though? I mean, his main goal in the whole movie is just simply to get laid. He's got no actual emotional.
No, but because he's funny. And because he, walks into this completely ridiculous situation that you would never,
it has never happened.
Yeah, it's like a Dear Penthouse letter, and you're like, that never happens. He ends up meeting these super hot women at this random bar in Wisconsin. Yeah. And there's
like 3 of them, isn't there?
Yeah, 3 of them, and they've got a 4th coming over. They all share an apartment, and they want him to stay with them, but we're just poor girls and
we only have one bed.
And we
no
can't afford pajamas. And so it's so funny and ridiculous that you like him. And his whole arc is funny up until the very end, and then it hurts because you've got Shannon Elizabeth coming in with the worst hick accent ever.
And she's from Texas.
It's like, hi, how y'all doing? It's just like, oh, good God. But the ones that I was going to say I don't really, take them or leave them for me are the movie stand-ins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's just...
it's Martin Freeman.
It is Martin Freeman. And I guess
some woman whose name I've never learned. I don't know.
I guess it's just the fact that they were kind of given such a separated plot that they only really interact with one other person.
That's
from
Colin's
the other
friend.
Yeah, Colin's friend is a PA on the movie. And I think the reason they did it that way is because they knew that was going to be the subplot that they'd have to cut when it's aired on actual primetime television in other countries. So they don't have as much of an impact as the others, like Colin Firth and his love interest that they don't even speak the same language for 95% of the movie.
Story.
That's my favorite one. And Keira Knightley is in this, and hers I think is really interesting because we've all heard stories of guys who have an attraction to a woman, but they have to keep it quiet because
the woman is like their best friend's fiance.
Exactly,
and stuff. Yeah.
And this isn't just attraction. He is full-blown in love with her.
Yeah.
And it leads to one of the most recognized parts of the movie with the signs and everything at the end. And to me, you're perfect.
Yeah.
But what I really love about this movie is the way that they've incorporated all this into the feel of Christmas. And you don't go 5 minutes in this movie without being reminded of the feel of a Christmas film or the tone of a Christmas film. It's not a film that just happens to be set at Christmas. No, it's about Christmas, and that is an integral part of the story.
Well, it even talks about whenever the narration is going at the beginning and at the end, talking about meeting people, loved ones in airports. It's talking about doing it at Christmas time when you have family coming in, being together and everything. And I'm the lobster. First lobster.
There was more than one lobster at the birth of Jesus. Duh. Now, before we move on, gotta mention that a long overdue sequel was created.
It's not really a sequel.
It's a sequel because it continues the story.
Okay.
But it wasn't a film, it was just a short
for the Red Nose Society.
For Red Nose Society over in England. And got to watch that, and I wish they did more.
Me too.
Specifically because this happened after the death of Alan Rickman. And I was really hoping there would be a scene between Emma Thompson playing his widow now and like at the funeral, and his secretary, who he had the emotional affair with, comes and sits down, and they bury the hatchet, make amends, some kind of interaction between them. But almost everybody else was in the movie or in this little short. There was Bill Nye doing his radio interview with the same DJ about doing a song about Red Nose Day.
Yeah.
And then there was Keira Knightley again.
That one was funny.
And Andrew Lincoln comes back, and before he says, by this time next year I'll be dating one of these women. And they actually brought in one of those models to be his
No, that's
fiance.
his wife.
Oh, that's actually his.
That's actually his wife. But she is one of the women who was on the thing.
Yeah, and it was really sweet. It did recapture the feeling of the movie. I thought it was a little bit of a stretch because of how long it's been and term limits for prime ministers over there. They had to figure out a way to get Hugh Grant back into...
Right.
Because his character wouldn't still be prime minister.
Right.
So what they said was he lost the next election, but then won the following one after that, or something like that. And then they have Liam Neeson back with his son, his stepson, but basically his son.
Yeah.
And you find out that he is now in a committed. They're actually getting engaged.
Yeah. With
the girl that sang the song at the end of the film.
Right. Well, what you find out is that they actually had a long distance thing, I think.
Well, they kept in touch. And then they bumped into each other when he was overseas in the States.
Randomly, going to college in New York or something like that, yeah.
And so it is online. And if you haven't seen it and you're at least familiar with Love Actually, I definitely suggest checking it out. It's just Love Actually, Red Nose Day. Whatever you have to search, it's 10, 15 minutes it'll come up.
Yeah.
So what's your next film?
You had mentioned Trading Places.
Okay.
Now, did you put Trading Places on your list at all?
No, it was between Trading Places and Love Actually, and I went with Love Actually.
Okay. I love Trading Places. I love taking a chance to watch that every year.
It's one of the greatest comedies of the 80s. It really is.
One of the best scenes is the part where he's in the Santa outfit. He's lost all hope. He's drunk off his ass, and he's going through the Christmas party, stuffing a full salmon into the suit, and he's trying to pull it up through the beard.
He's eating it through ripping out the hair, the beard.
It's oh my gosh, this is pathetic, but he's doing such a good job. It's hysterical. But there are it's just the movie wouldn't be what it is without that Christmas atmosphere, because it's cold and there's more of a desperation because it's cold. You see all the people outside trying to huddle up and stay warm. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It very much does, because of the story of the film. With the Duke brothers, doing what they have now. Trading Places might be one of those films that some people have overlooked. They've heard of it. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, the Duke brothers are a couple of old commodities brokers who are battling each other over this debate of nature versus nurture. One believes that it's all genetics, that it's in the blood, you're either going to succeed or fail. The other one says you put anybody in the right environment and they'll either succeed or become a criminal. Mm-hmm. And they come across a con man, a criminal, played by Eddie Murphy, and they decide to have a little bet between them. So they arrange for their top guy, Lewis Winthorpe III, to be framed, discredited, fired, loses his house, just completely pull the rug out from under him, and put Billy Ray Valentine, Eddie Murphy, into his position to see if...
They even get the butler in on it.
Yeah, the butler's in on it. I mean, so many people have to be in on this to pull it off, to see if Billy Ray Valentine will succeed in this new environment, and if Winthorpe will turn to crime. Mm-hmm. And then, towards the end of the film, Winthorpe and Valentine find out what's going on and team up to take down the Dukes. So the fact that this is happening in such a harsh climate, literal climate, where you take this prim and proper guy like Winthorpe, who they even make a point of, Jamie Lee Curtis feels his hands and says, "You've never worked a hard day in your life."
Right.
He's literally thrown out into the cold and doesn't know what to do.
And then you set it at Christmas time when you see people coming together and being together and, oh, it's a wonderful time to be with family and friends and we love each other and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, he's lost everybody. He's lost his fiance. He's lost his friends, and because he's completely discredited and he's out in the cold on the street, and all of that comfort, that warmth during Christmas time is just gone. So it's one of those things where the holiday it really sets an emotional standard for the movie.
Very much so. And I think it's perfect because we're talking about the classes. You know, it's rich and poor. And it's set at a time that's about money.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they even make some references to it when Billy Ray's trying to explain why he's set a sell price for a certain commodity. And he said, it's Christmas, man. People are panicking. You know, people are sitting there going, I'm going to lose all my money and not be able to buy my son the G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip. So it just, again, I agree. It kind of had to be at Christmas.
Right.
But then it also had to be for part of the plot point about what the Dukes are trying to do with the stock exchange. And they're trying to corner the market for the frozen concentrated orange juice because of the winter harvest. So it kind of needed to be for that. But I think that it just had so many benefits being set at Christmas.
Right.
I got to admit, I'm kind of shocked. I knew you liked it, but I didn't think it'd be high up enough to make your list.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially because, I mean, other movies that are on there that I could have put on there, like Nightmare Before Christmas, that could also end up on my Halloween list. But then again, the reason why I didn't put it on my Halloween list is because I can watch it any time of year. You know?
Trading Places is definitely a Christmas-only film. Yeah,
it really is. And I already mentioned that now the Ernest movies kind of annoy me. I can watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang any time of year, stuff like that. So I'm going for the movies that really I can only watch and feel that mood at Christmas time. So
definitely, I can definitely agree with you on that one. And it is a precursor to Ghostbusters. And this is the film that really makes me wish there was that alternate reality where we got the original cast of Ghostbusters. Because working with Eddie Murphy is why Dan Aykroyd wrote the role of Winston Zeddemore for Eddie Murphy.
Right.
Eddie Murphy was an original choice, and that was back when Winston was going to come in and actually be the smartest one of the group, be the most qualified. He's going to be a former Marine, a scientist, PhDs out the wazoo. And then Eddie Murphy decided to do Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
And then they went ahead and changed things around and made him the everyman. But it's because of this movie and their interactions, because Aykroyd and Murphy together are just amazing. And Dan Aykroyd is like my favorite comedic actor of all time.
Yeah.
And, he can do different characters. And this is, he really plays up the snob perfectly.
Oh, he does. He even does that voice.
Yeah, it's very nasally. And just, yes, Muffy. That kind of.
Yeah.
So, moving on. Number 4 for me. A very Harold and Kumar Christmas.
Oh, gosh.
And I truly believe that Christmas is a time for family. Children all the way up to great-grandparents. Just do what you can with every member of your family. But I also think that there is the necessity for the parents to have time for just themselves. And this is the perfect movie for that. I've liked the Harold and Kumar films.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable. Even Escape from Guantanamo Bay is a piece of crap film, but it's still kind of fun to watch. It's not as good as the original or this one, but it's still fun. This was it is my favorite film of the Harold and Kumar trilogy.
Really?
It really is. It just barely edges out the first one.
Harold and Kumar Christmas, that's the only one that we saw in theaters, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the only one we saw in theaters for, I don't remember why we didn't get a chance to see Guantanamo, because I know that we were together when that came out.
Yeah.
And we had I think we were just told, you got to watch Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, whatever. And we just laughed our asses off.
Yeah.
But for Harold and Kumar Christmas, this is the only film I've ever seen in 3D that justified the 3D experience.
Yeah, most times whenever I see a film in 3D, I can't even tell that it's in 3D. I'm sitting there going, what are these glasses supposed to be doing?
And when we saw this, I looked over at you. In the freaking opening, they take the movie logo and turn it into a wreath.
Uh-huh.
And then you and I just started reaching out for the wreath.
It's like, wait a second.
Because it was so well done.
I'd never seen 3D effects done that well.
Yeah, and I mean we've seen, like, I think Iron Man 3 we saw in 3D. We've seen several films in 3D. Never really did it.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this is that it was made for 3D, and the jokes were made for 3D. Now, it's not like the old films from the 80s, back when 3D was, it's like every 30 years 3D hits. It was in the 50s, and then it had a resurgence in the 80s, and you've got, like, Friday the 13th in 3D.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch that, the 3D effects, for the most part, are pretty lame. Like, it's just a guy doing a yo-yo to the screen, or oh, here's a rake pointing it at the screen. It's just for the effect of the 3D. But with Harold and Kumar, the 3D just made the joke that much better, where you literally had every bodily function flying at the screen at some time during this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you pretty much get I don't know how to say this without sounding crude.
Do it.
You pretty much get jizzed on by Machete.
Yeah, that's, and your father-in-law sees the tree. He's got, they're throwing things at the screen, and they know they're playing it for gags.
Oh yeah,
and that's what makes it fun. And it's even fun when you don't watch it in 3D. We just have the standard Blu-ray. We didn't get the 3D version.
So we don't
of
have
it.
a 3D TV or
Yeah,
anything.
and I still think that 3D is a fad that it's almost gone now. Very few things are released in 3D anymore. But for this, it wasn't just like dick and fart jokes. It wasn't just 3D novelty. It was a really good story. And
some really crude jokes.
Very crude. Extremely crude jokes.
Like the Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, God. Neil Patrick Harris in this is, once again, steals the movie.
I love that, especially whenever his husband's taking part in it. That whole bit right there.
Yeah, acknowledging, isn't Neil Patrick Harris gay? And there he is with his husband, and they make out in the hallway in front of cameras.
Love you, honey.
And then they go behind closed doors, and he goes, "Oh, God, don't ever do that shit again."
Yeah, it's so funny.
You wanted to make it look real. Yeah, not freaking gay. But the whole film, the basic story of the film is a really good story. And it's a sweet story, because by now, if you've gone along with them getting stoned and looking for White Castle, and then being mistaken for terrorists and sent to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, after all that, if you're watching this film, you're fans of Harold and Kumar.
Right.
And then you find out that they haven't been friends for years.
Yeah.
And Harold is succeeding while Kumar's just floundering.
Yeah.
And then getting them back together, and they have to work out their crap. By the end of it, where they're best friends again, it's like, yeah, man, I was hoping that would happen. It just, you kind of feel for it, because you're already invested in these characters. And then when Harold tells off his father-in-law at the end, you're kind of just, by the end of it, it is kind of a feel-good movie, even with shooting Santa in the head with a shotgun and freezing penises to poles.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A
and the waffle bot.
A killer robot that makes waffles. It is very, very ridiculous, but it's one of those things that you don't really get very often in Christmas. You get corny, you get cheesy, you don't get balls to the wall ridiculous, and that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why it's one of my top films.
Because it's balls to the wall ridiculous.
Yes,
Yeah.
balls to the wall and penis to the pole ridiculous. Okay, so what's next for you, hon?
Next for me, let's see here. I'm gonna say White Christmas.
Oh, Ben Crosby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben Crosby and Danny Kaye.
Ben Crosby tap dancing with Danny Kaye.
Exactly. And that is, again, same thing with Scrooge, is one that watched with my mom every year growing up. White Christmas is one of the ones that you'll hear me singing around the house when I start singing Christmas carols and everything. And it's just, I love watching the dance routines. Now that I'm older, I can appreciate the dance routines a lot better.
Very much. That's not a movie for kids, not because of content. It's just with it being an older film.
It's more story based. There's not like a bunch of bright colors and
not a lot of flash.
Not a lot of flash and flare. It all is maintained within the story and within the dancing. You know, because it's these, you know, these two guys who are these big stage performers that are trying to help save, you know, they were buddies in the army, and they're trying to help save the ski resort of the guy who was their general. And I say was, to them, he still is their general.
Yeah.
First time they see him, they realize that's where they're going. They turn hut and they salute him, and he goes straight into, he's like, at ease, boys. And, you know, and you hear the military jargon throughout the whole thing as they, you know, whenever they're around him, he's their general, you know. Yet they're more likely to disobey an order now because they're like, we got to save him, keep him occupied. So, but it's a sweet story about loyalty and love and Christmas. You know, it takes place at Christmas time, and it's like, and it's the whole thing of, can you call it a Christmas miracle? I mean, that's not really said, but the whole point is the fact that the reason why his ski lodge is failing is because it's an abnormally warm winter in Vermont and it hasn't snowed. So he has nobody staying there. And so they start bringing people in from their old platoon to, you know, give him like this grand like night of showing that he is remembered, because he tried to get back on active duty and was denied.
Yeah.
And so they want him to know that he's remembered and everything. And then during the concert, it starts snowing. And so it's like, oh, his company is saved. His lodge is saved because now it's snowing and they're going to get skiers in, and all the people from his unit, they're there, and they care about him, and he's not forgotten and everything. It's a really sweet story, and the dancing and the music, it's all really brilliant. In fact, even though it's not one that can really appeal to the modern kid, whenever I put it on at Christmas time, I'll notice the girls stop and they start watching the dancing, the dance routines, because they're beautiful. That's one thing that I love about it, is that the dance routines, you can very much look at that and realize this took serious training. This took serious discipline. It's not something that anyone can just get up on stage and be like, I'm going to dance and do this thing. I've watched routines before where I'm like, anybody can do that routine. And like, what? And they'll say to me later, what did you think of it? I'm like, that was crap. Anybody could do that. I saw a dance routine one time where the only thing the person did was get up there and unzip a zipper on a vest. And I'm like, that was supposed to be a dance routine? And they're like, you didn't like it? And I'm like, no, anybody can do that. That doesn't show any skill, any training. And like, show me something that shows that you trained, that you put your heart and your soul and your blood and your sweat into this. And when you see the way they dance in this movie, you can tell that that's exactly what they did.
Well, this was made in the heyday of musicals.
Oh, yeah.
Where musicals were the big production numbers, and you would go to see a musical and they would pan back, and it's just this huge to do. That's what I love about the live action remake of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Is they went back to that kind of ideal, and that
Yeah.
really brought it home to me, because that's what I like about White Christmas. I'm not as familiar with it as you are. I remember bits and pieces. I know I've seen it all the way through several times.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you tell me you ask me right now, gun to my head, tell me the progression from start to finish of the film.
Like, I have no
I'm a
clue.
dead man. There's
Yeah.
no way I could do it.
But, I mean, it's Bing Crosby and Mary. Is it Shelley Clooney?
Rosemary Clooney.
Rosemary Clooney, thank you. It's Bing Crosby.
Mary Shelley?
I'm sitting there going, that's the person who wrote Frankenstein. That's not
Yeah,
right.
no, it's Rosemary Clooney, but I do know that it's not her voice during the singing.
It is her voice during the singing.
No.
Not on the discs.
Oh, that's right. In the movie, yeah.
In the movie, it is not on the recorded album.
That's okay. That's right. Yeah,
because
she was
her
under
voice,
contract.
yeah, her voice was copyrighted.
Yeah.
By another company during that time. So yeah. So yeah, it's so disappointing to know that you can't actually get an album like anything to download. Like you can't like download an album of White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney singing, because one doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's just on the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. So, and they sound so beautiful together too. Their voices harmonize really well, especially when they're singing. Oh gosh, what's the name of that one? Count Your Blessings. When you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings instead of sheep.
That could be the title. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm sorry.
And you'll fall asleep counting your blessings. Something like that. So, yeah. But they sing a duet with that one. It's really, really good. And my voice sounded like crap during that because my throat's all scratchy.
Well, at least when they swapped out Rosemary Clooney, they got somebody good.
Yeah.
And was actually known for Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Brenda Lee.
Yeah.
So that definitely, it worked out, but I agree. It's, if you love the film and then you listen to the soundtrack, it's, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's
like, that's not her.
It's like getting the soundtrack for Aladdin.
Yeah.
And then you turn it on and all the Genie songs are sung by someone that's not Robin Williams.
Right.
It's, no. I want what I saw in the movie.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so number 3 for me, my top 3 over, the past 20 years has kind of fluctuated, but it's always been these 3 films. They've always kind of moved around depending on my tastes and what's going on in my life. So this used to be, for the longest time, my number 1 film, and it's down to number 3.
Okay.
A Christmas Story.
Wow, that's down to number 3?
That's down to number 3 right now. And I'll explain why when we get to 2 and 1.
Yeah, I noticed you not giggling at leg lamp novelties stuff as much.
Maybe it's kind of the burnout because it is the film that's played on 24-hour rotation.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why as soon as it hits December and we bust out the Christmas movies, I don't put that on.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to watch a lot of it leading up to Christmas. I'll put it on for the girls probably soon because I want them to...
I feel like they're going to sit and
They're going to be
watch it.
bored out of their minds, but we'll at least give it a try. But for me, that is Christmas. That is like the stamp of Christmas. Everything else can go great, but if you didn't get a chance to sit there and watch Christmas Story, something went wrong that Christmas.
Yeah.
Because it's like a good down-home style movie.
Yeah.
But it takes place very obviously in a decade that we were never near a part of.
Right, yeah.
But it is like a very good representation of Americana and what you think about and like the images you think about when you think about, old-fashioned Christmas dinners, and you think of all those, I can't think of who drew them, but like the pictures of like the cop sitting next to the little boy at the soda shop.
Oh yeah, okay.
you know,
I think I
stuff
know what
like
you're
that.
talking about. I don't know. I can't think of who drew them either.
But you know the kind of pictures I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing. So, like, you know, when you think of an old-fashioned Christmas, at least for me, when I think of an old-fashioned Christmas, I think of Christmas Story. I think of that whole setup and going to school bundled up, snow everywhere,
Yeah.
the old-fashioned cars. I love the feel of the film.
Yeah.
And, you know, growing up, you know, almost every kid could relate to that one present that you're obsessing over. And you're just hoping and hoping that you're going to get there. And if your parents are sneaky sons of bitches, they'll make sure that that is the last thing you open, and maybe even trick you like they did in the movie. Of, you know, did you get everything you wanted? Almost, you know.
That's not the way it is at our house though, because you know that big present that comes from Santa, and that is like up front and center with a big red bow on top, and the kids are like Santa, and then that's the first thing the kids open.
Yes, because there's no way you're gonna, you know, they're just gonna keep staring at that one. No, socks, great, thanks, Mom. But it is Christmas in so many ways. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
And
that's why it's played on a 24-hour rotation.
Yeah, and when I was growing up, I would say up until maybe just a few years ago, you know, I'm 36, and well into the point of me being 30, I had a hard time sleeping through the night.
Yeah.
The night before Christmas. I still am. I get so excited.
Yeah, those first few years we were married, you drove me crazy. You were up at like 5 a.m. I'm like, go back to sleep.
And when I was a kid, I would wake up. You know, I'd go to bed all excited and wake up in the morning. And, you know, it's going to be Christmas. And I would wake up feeling so refreshed, so excited, and it's freaking 12:30. I was like, it's midnight. No. So I'll go back to sleep, and I'd sleep for what felt like hours and wake up, and it's 1:45. And so there would be some times where I would go try to wake my parents up at 3 a.m. to open presents, and every now and then they would oblige, and for several years we would actually have all the presents opened under the tree before the sun came up. But it got to the point where, you know, later years, like I'm a teenager.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sitting there going, oh, Santa's going to be here in the morning. It's just, oh, it's Christmas, and I'm still excited. And I knew to leave my parents the hell alone. So I would go out to the living room and put on the 24-hour cycle of Christmas Story, and I would just watch that until they woke up.
When we first got together, and like our first Christmas, I think, at your parents', your dad comes out with like a 6-pack of beer and goes, here, drink this and sleep.
Yeah. And now, just to clarify, I was of age.
Yeah.
I was 24. And I remember you looked at him and went, what? Like, you were so confused.
You had already been telling me how excited you would get that you would probably wake up really early, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You'll sleep through the night. And then your dad brings that out, and I'm just kind of like, are you serious? And your dad looks at me and goes, he won't sleep. He won't sleep otherwise. You still didn't sleep.
I know. I was drunk and awake.
You're up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. You're like, Lindsay, it's Christmas. And I'm like, go to sleep.
And what did I do? I went out to Mom and Dad's living room and I turned on a Christmas Story.
And I'm like, you can't do that. I'm just going to sleep. Go.
So,
leave me alone.
And that's why it's so ingrained to me, and just I cannot watch that and not feel good. I know they did a sequel to it several years back, a straight to DVD sequel, and I was partially interested in it because, one, it's actually using a story from Gene Shepard, the writer. And it's about Ralphie trying to save money for a car. And the old man, the father, in the sequel, was played by Daniel Stern. He was played by Marv from Home Alone.
Oh, was it?
And so I was interested, but I looked at reviews and it was just trashed. It was
really?
Horrible.
Oh, that's
so
too bad.
Never watched it. And then they have A Christmas Story Live.
That's this year.
That's this year coming out. It's like on the 19th or something. And I was a little, I don't know, let's see. And then they announced Maya Rudolph as the mom. And she was in Bridesmaids and on Saturday Night Live. And so I'm, okay, well, maybe. And then they announced the old man. Chris Diamatopoulos. I probably butchered that name. He's not very well known, but he's a phenomenal actor. He played Robin Williams in a made-for-TV movie about Mork and Mindy.
Oh, really?
About the making of Mork and Mindy. And he did such a phenomenal impression. But it wasn't just an impression like an impressionist gets on stage and suddenly they're a great comedian. No, that's just bullshit. He was Robin Williams. You felt like you were watching an old Robin Williams behind the scenes thing. And then he was Moe in the Three Stooges movie.
Okay.
Which I love, and he was definitely one of the reasons why that film hit so hard for me, because I'm a big Three Stooges fan, and I loved that all three of those guys were just doing the best they could to channel the original actors and the original characters.
They did good jobs.
And he did an amazing job. So he's going to be the old man. So I'm really interested to see just how this goes. I'm not optimistic because this is the same company that did, or the same station, same setup that did the remake of Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
And I heard that was just an abomination.
We never watched it, but
because I heard leading up to it, people were like, "Oh, I've seen this, and it looks horrible."
Yeah.
And it's like all of our fears were justified.
Yeah.
But
and then Matthew Broderick as the narrator.
As the
grown-up
narrator,
Ralphie. Yeah.
Which I was kind of disappointed about because I wanted them to use old Gene Shepard dialogue, because Gene Shepard, the writer, is the narrator in the film. And his voice is synonymous. And I wish they would have been able to work that. But it should be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a shot, but nothing's going to replace that original film.
Right, yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that becomes a classic for a reason. There's a reason why nothing can replace it.
Exactly. So. All right, so what's next for you, hon?
The next one on my list is a crap movie. It's a crap movie. But I enjoy watching it so much. I don't know why. It's Fred Claus.
Yeah.
It's not a classic.
Vince Vaughn playing Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn playing Vince Vaughn as Fred Claus.
Yeah.
So, but it is such a crap movie. But I enjoy watching it so much. Just, because it does have that Christmassy feel to it a bit, And then
a bit.
I say a bit because it still has that Vince Vaughn-y feeling.
Yeah, but
to it.
It basically it feels like Vince Vaughn and this crew took over the sets from the Santa Claus.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but you know how I am with names. You're gonna have to help me. The guy who plays as Santa.
Paul Giamatti.
Thank you, Paul Giamatti. When I first heard Paul Giamatti as Santa, I went, what? But oh gosh, he does it so well. He's got that cheery demeanor and everything. But then when he gets mad, it's not like a gruff, angry mad. It's a disappointed.
Yeah.
It's a worried.
Yeah.
He does a really good job of not being mad.
Up until he needs to be.
Up until he needs to be, yeah, whenever they have the snowball fight and he throws his back out. And then Rachel Weisz, yeah.
Mrs. Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I was like Rachel Craig now, but I just love her anyway.
Yeah. She's so cute.
She is
just sweet.
She is, yeah. And she's got that beautiful little smile and everything, and then you have that little cameo by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I forgot he was in that. Now, can you really call that a cameo? Because at this point in his career, I think this is a part.
That's true.
Because this is not Jeffrey Dean Morgan as we see him now.
It's after Watchmen and stuff, though. It's after he'd been on Supernatural.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So yeah, this would definitely be just a cameo.
Yeah.
But then they have some legitimate like cameos just brought in. There's a support group for brothers of
siblings
of famous siblings, and they've got Sylvester Stallone's brother. I can't remember what his Frank Stallone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you can't remember a name, there's no way in hell I'm gonna remember the name.
So they've got Frank Stallone, Stephen Baldwin. He's
anger management issues.
He's not Alec. Roger Clinton, Bill Clinton's brother, and then Fred is there and says, "Hi, I'm Fred, and my brother's Santa." Get out of here!
Like, well, I think I understand what he means. I feel like my brother's Santa too. He's like, no, really, my brother is Santa. And that's when you start getting that. He's not Alec.
It's very much, again, like we said, Vince Vaughn playing Vince Vaughn, because that's all that. You don't go to a Vince Vaughn movie for him to play this really, dark character. That's why the remake of Psycho, one of the many reasons the remake of Psycho bombed, because nobody wanted to see Vince Vaughn doing Anthony Perkins.
He's never going to be able to branch out and show that he has actual acting chops, because
if he even does. I mean,
well, I mean, if he does, he's never going to get a chance to do anything with it, because people are going to be like, it's a Vince Vaughn movie, I want to go laugh and chuckle.
Yeah.
So,
but for this, it has its moments of genuine, heartfelt moments. My favorite part in the movie is probably going to be a little uncomfortable to watch now.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I picked it and put it on my list, was not because it's going to be uncomfortable to watch, but because of that moment.
Yeah, and it is such a sweet moment, but it's going to be uncomfortable now because of all the stuff that's going on in Hollywood and the news,
right?
And the kind of villain of this movie is Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Who is brought in by the, they basically say like the council, and he's an efficiency expert who's there to rate Santa, and if he falls below a certain rating, they're going to cancel Christmas.
Yeah.
They're already looking to cancel Easter.
Yeah.
And Kevin Spacey is just this, pissed off guy who never got
the Superman cape.
Yeah, the Superman cape that he wanted as a kid, because he was on the naughty list, and he's made it his life's mission to do what he can to bring down Christmas. And it's this beautiful scene between him and Santa. And
it also shows you what, because the whole point of the movie is that I keep saying the whole point of the movie. It's not obvious. It can be layered, it doesn't have to be the whole point of the movie, but
one of the major plot points.
One of the major, is Fred is actually the older brother.
Yeah.
And, excuse me. So Fred is actually the older brother, and he his whole life, it was always, why can't you be more like your little brother? Why, oh, look what your little brother did. Even though the stuff that Nicholas was doing was actually hurting Fred. Like, he cut down a tree to have firewood for the kids in the village or something like that. I forget what he cut down the tree for.
No, he cut down the tree because he knew Fred liked that tree.
That's right, and that's how putting the Christmas tree inside the house started, because he cut down the tree to put it in the house because he liked it so much.
But what Fred liked about it was
the bird that lived in the tree,
and the bird took off.
Yeah, and just then Fred had given Nicholas a journal for his birthday,
and very like a heartfelt.
Yeah,
gift.
He had put his heart and soul into putting this together for him, because he's really trying to be a good brother. But then Nicholas goes, I'm going to take all my gifts to the children in the village who don't have as much as we do, and takes this beautiful thing that Fred had just made for him and just gives it away. And he has a good heart. He's, Nick at this point has a good heart. He's trying to do good things, but he just doesn't realize that he's hurting his brother with all these
And he's being
things.
enabled by the shittiest mother of all time.
Yeah. And she's
Kathy Bates.
Thank you. And she's just, oh, why can't you be more like your brother? Your brother's doing a good thing. He's being a good example. It's like he's hurting his older brother here, and you're not doing anything to protect him. It's just it just is irritating, mother, by all means. And
which she's meant to be. She's basically the other villain of the movie.
Yeah.
She's not a villainous character, but she's like the antagonist. She's the one that is just you want to see her get hers.
Yeah. But she, because people are always telling Fred he's not good enough, he becomes this con man and stuff like that. Because what else do you do whenever people keep telling you that you're not really worth anything?
Yeah.
And so because of that, they end up like holding an intervention. You need to work on yourself. And it's like, I'm liking this because of what you guys have put me through. Leave me alone. And he gets like all belligerent during the intervention and everything. And they're like, well, why are you being mad at us? It's like, really? You got to ask that? But during all this, Fred has befriended this one kid. And it's the whole thing of one of his parents is out of the picture, and the parent that's in the picture is not a good parent, like never home. And so
probably not even his real parent.
Yeah, I forget the exact circumstances around this kid, but so he gets taken in by social services, and Fred, always being the angry child that he was, kind of teaches. What's his name? He calls himself Smash or Slam.
Yeah,
Slam. He teaches Slam how to put up the walls by holding on to that angry demeanor.
Yeah.
And so because of it, Slam ends up on the naughty list. And that's when Fred starts realizing so many of these kids that are on the naughty list, they don't deserve to be there.
They're just misunderstood.
They're misunderstood. They've got stuff going on in their lives. They're angry. They're scared, things like that. And so he starts labeling every single kid as nice. And they're like, how do we do this? How do we get all these toys when you've labeled all these kids as nice? We can't fill that quota.
And they're going to fail and get shut down.
Yeah. But he ends up, Fred ends up rallying everybody to actually get it done. But the scene that we were talking about earlier, and I completely got off track, was the really heartfelt scene between Santa and the efficiency guy. Yeah. Is that he is realizing he put him on the naughty list when he was a kid, when he was just a misunderstood kid who was going through something, and putting him on the naughty list didn't help his situation.
And even getting him that cape would have helped the situation.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, he was in a situation where he idolized Superman. He idolized Clark Kent being able to take off the glasses and become Superman. But that is such a very well done scene, because they basically took the two best actors.
Yeah.
And that's something that they have to do, is they have to surround Vince Vaughn with good actors to carry the emotional weight. Because even when Vince Vaughn tries to be serious, he just looks bored, and it's just...
he does some good serious moments in Fred Claus. I feel like.
But the bulk of them are carried by Mrs. Claus, who is just pissed at him start to finish, and Paul Giamatti, I felt like sometimes, especially because this takes place after the scene you talked about where they get really mad at each other, and Fred and Nick have like a big snowball fight and beat each other up.
And this isn't like a playful, let's have a snowball fight.
No,
this is like pelting each other.
Yeah, this is play for blood.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a little too hokey for an actor like Paul Giamatti. But giving him this scene afterwards just balanced it out beautifully.
Yeah.
And then this is the scene where they get the villain on their side, and now he actually works for Santa. He's, using his efficiency expert abilities to streamline everything at the North Pole, and they're never going to fall behind again. And,
well, the snowball fight actually has a purpose to the plot other than just showing how angry they are. It's during the snowball fight that Nick throws his back out. Mm-hmm. And it forces Fred to have to step up because now only a Claus can fly the sleigh. And so Fred has to get into the sleigh and be the one to be Santa for the night and deliver all the presents and everything.
And that has some really funny moments. Like one of the moments that just makes me laugh every time we watch it, it's one of the highlights of the film for me, is when Fred is delivering presents and goes down the wrong chimney and ends up in the Jewish house.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, do you want some? And they offer him like a latke or something like
it's
that.
Just like, that'd be great. It's just like, shalom. And he leaves. And it's like this nice Jewish family just took no never mind to the fact that Father Christmas just came down their chimney. And
they're like, and you have to eat all the cookies. All the cookies. It's like, it's rude. They'll be upset if you it's not rude that they'll be upset. They like to see that Santa was there. And like one house has a flan or something like that.
And he's just like, it gets to the point where he can't eat anymore, so he's just putting them in the bag and leaving. It is very dumb, but it is sweet. Mm-hmm. It has its moments when it's not being just a ridiculous Vince Vaughn film.
Yeah. And those are good moments. And I feel like there's a good message in those too. Is that so many kids it's like, well, they're a bad kid. Maybe there's just something else going on that you're not quite seeing.
Yeah, and like the resolution with Slam. Yeah, he really gets in a better situation.
Well, yeah, once he deals with the anger issues and everything, and he ends up in a really good home and everything, then he finds closure. He finds a loving family and everything where he doesn't feel on the outside of that window looking in anymore. Yeah. And then Fred, at the end of the movie, you find out that Fred has taken over coaching a Little League baseball team that Slam is on, and he continues to mentor Slam and everything. And he and Rachel Weisz's character are together now, like strongly committed together. Before it was kind of floppy, and now it's a strong, solid relationship.
Well, he kind of forces himself in. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I sold my apartment. I'm living with you now."
He doesn't even say he sold his apartment. I don't even think he has one at this point. He's just like, "Yeah, I'm staying. I'm moving in here. This is our place now. So when you're ready to talk, I'll be out in our nook.
Yeah, our breakfast
nook." And she's sitting there going, what the hell just happened? What?
But then he made it all right by telling her he'd take her to Paris, which he did in the sleigh. Yeah, it was a company perk. Okay, so
he says that too.
Yeah,
so
he does. It's a company perk.
Perks of the job. Yeah.
So number 2 for me.
I think we finished all mine, so let's just.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 2 is Home Alone. Mm-hmm. And this one fluctuates. Like I said, my top 3 have always kind of moved around. And this is number 2 for me right now because this year is the first year that our daughters have really started getting into watching Home Alone.
Maddie was last year, though.
Maddie was last year, but now it's both girls. Mm-hmm. To where our 4-year-old Tori is every day. Yeah, she comes in with the Blu-ray. Can we watch Home Alone? And if we don't have much time, we just skip right to where the movie shifts from being a real movie to a cartoon.
Right.
And when the house is all set and Harry and Marv come in and get the shit kicked out of them.
Right.
And this is another one where you go the whole film with that Christmas feel. Mm. And the music, the setting, and I think it's very perfect for it to be set at Christmas because it is the holiday that is at the center of the world for children.
Yeah.
And you have this child having to endure this at what should be the most enjoyable time of the year for him.
Yeah.
We've talked about what makes a Christmas movie a Christmas movie. And the fact that it's at Christmas has to be
somehow central
to the story. And in this, it could have been like summer vacation and they got left behind or something. But
you've thought about this since we had that conversation, haven't
a
you?
little bit. But we talked about, because other people have said, is Home Alone a Christmas movie or just set at Christmas?
Right. Like we've talked about with Die Hard.
Yeah, with Die Hard and It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And people have argued that, well, you could have Home Alone at any time of the year. It could be summer break. But Christmas break is where people, like the whole block, is more likely to be off visiting family and friends and be out of the way, which is why it was perfect for the Wet Bandits to target that area at Christmas.
Right.
It's so staggered at other breaks of the year, like summer break.
The summer break is like 3 months long, and people take vacation when they can manage it based on how their schedule is. Christmas break, it's that lump of time that everyone has to take off in order to be where they want to be for that holiday.
Exactly. So I don't think this film would have worked had it been any other time. And it is, again, it's like the other Christmas movies we talked about. It's got a heart. It is a lot of fun. It's sweet. There are very non sequitur moments that really just have no place in the overall story, but it's just something funny to see Kevin doing something at the house, or and I really don't think there's a weak member of the cast. Everybody fits their role. You got Uncle Frank, who's a dick. You've got Catherine O'Hara as the mother. She's an anchor for that film. Another actress would not have been able to do the humor
or
with
the serious
severity of what is going on. I will get home to my son.
Well, and like the moments when she goes, Kevin, like this, there's a certain sound to her voice. The way she does it, nobody else could pull that off the way she does.
Exactly.
The prop fall.
And it's just...
That's in the second one, though. The really good prop fall is in the second one.
Oh, yeah. It is. And now I'm trying to remember. Is she Saturday Night Live or SCTV? She's one of them. One of them. But she is very much the serious one in a lot of this. She has humorous moments. But she is one of the serious characters. And the best part with her is when she's there with John Candy.
I was going to say, give her props for keeping a straight face during that.
That whole scene where he's just going around and
talking about the kid that was left in the
we left one in a funeral parlor once, and apparently all that was just John Candy. John Candy was on set for 23 hours. That's all they had him for. So they just did one long day, and most of the stuff he did was just off the cuff. And you have to give her credit for keeping it together and not busting up laughing when he's going around talking about the guys. And Lenny, let's just hope none of his kids write a book about him. Stuff like that. And then you've got Harry and Marv. You got Joe Pesci. Fish out of water. This is Goodfellas Joe Pesci.
Right.
Doing a family comedy.
Well, the whole thing with him going,
the
Yosemite Sam
cussing.
Is
because he didn't know how to not cuss.
They had problems with him actually cursing,
dropping the F-bomb during those scenes.
And they're like, Joe, this is a family movie. There's kids watching this. You can't say those things. And so he started doing that instead.
And then you got Daniel Stern, who, other than this, he was really known for... He did like a film called, I think it's like Diner, with like Mickey Rourke. And
not a clue.
Yeah, I mean, he was known for things, but he was really getting noticed for City Slickers. And then he did this, and that's kind of all he's known for now, and except for Wonder Years. He's the...
Never watched Wonder Years.
Well, Wonder Years was inspired by Christmas Story, where it's a narrator telling the story of him growing up. So the narrator is the lead character as an adult.
Okay.
And he was the voice of Fred Savage's character as an adult.
Oh, okay.
But the humor of it works perfectly. There is a very definite shift in tone.
Okay.
And they've even said that's what they were looking for in the film. They wanted everything from the start all the way up to the point of the Wet Bandits breaking in to be very serious. The moment the Wet Bandits break in, because of what they were going to endure, it had to be ridiculous, cartoonish violence, which it's a shift in tone, but still fits and it still works. You're not jarred. Well, you kind of are, but that's part of the joke and part of the humor. And
well, imagine seeing it for the very first time.
Oh, which I remember seeing it in theaters.
Yeah, you had this serious Christmassy movie and everything that's about this kid who's missing his family, and he's up against these odds of these guys who are going to try and rob his house while he's home alone. And then all of a sudden, it's like you got Wile E. Coyote type stuff going,
stepping on the nail,
Acme traps,
the tarantula on the face,
the flamethrower. That's not flamethrower, but you know what I mean.
Oh, that was a flamethrower.
That was a
blowtorch.
Blowtorch was the word I was looking for.
But it's just so much fun, and that's the part where when the girls want to watch it and we don't have much time, we just jump straight to that. And there's always been these jokes, like you'll see memes of Kevin McAllister and the Predator, and it says Kevin McAllister versus the Predator, who you got? And the next line is, how much prep time does Kevin have? And that is the thing, is like, he's like Batman. You give him any prep time, Kevin is unbeatable. I swear I wanted there to be a scene at the end of the movie when the Wet Bandits are caught. I wanted Kevin to unwrap a bubblegum cigar, put it in his mouth, and just say, I love it when a plan comes together. It's just, this kid is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can't really talk about Home Alone without talking about Home Alone 2.
Right.
Which did not make the list.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy the hell out of that movie.
Well, it's a double feature.
It is a double feature. When we watch one, we have to follow it up. It's kind of like when we watch Addams Family for Halloween. We have to watch Addams Family 2 right after.
Right.
Which we've been watching Addams Family Values lately because that is, for some reason, Tori's favorite film and wants to watch
that. It's got the baby.
Yeah,
with
she
the
loves
mustache.
Hubert. Yeah, she loves the baby with the mustache. And but
that poor little girl.
Yeah, if you didn't know, the boy, the little boy, the baby boy, Hubert, in Addams Family was played by twin girls.
Yeah.
But anyway, for Home Alone 2, there's a lot of criticism that it's just a retread of the original. Yes. It hits a lot of the same plot points, but I think there's also aspects where they do it to remind you, but then they throw a curveball with it.
How so?
Well, like, by the time they get to the house and it's the cartoonish violence again, they get to the staircase, and even the now sticky bandits are like, don't you remember last year?
Yeah.
And they go up, and then, you get the two paint cans, and they're like, okay, now we can go.
Yeah.
And as they're going up, that's when Kevin throws the pipe over.
Yeah, and then they hit their heads on the paint cans going down. Yeah.
And
well, you also have that added bit of the big toolbox.
Yeah.
That tool drawer chest thing.
Ding, 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 all the way down.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was in some ways a lazy retread.
Yeah.
I feel like they, it's Kevin home alone, but he's not at home.
Yeah.
Which, okay, yeah, you changed it up there, and but now instead of an old man, it's an older woman that he's befriended.
Right.
And,
but this time she's homeless.
Yeah, now she's homeless. And that's where my biggest complaint of the movie comes from.
Yeah. As
the ending of Home Alone is sweet because he's convinced old man Marley to bury the hatchet with his son.
And be able to see his granddaughter.
And he saw his son, his daughter-in-law, and his granddaughter Christmas morning. And you know that things are going to be good for old man Marley from this point on because of Kevin. The ending of Home Alone 2 is shit. Because this homeless woman that he befriended, Her situation is not better in any way, shape, or form, except for now she's got a little porcelain turtle dove to remember Kevin by.
Right, yeah.
That's it. And with what happened with the hotel, where the hotel is bending over backwards, giving them a complimentary suite because they let Kevin check in by himself and all of this stuff. I just was expecting Kevin to pull the concierge aside, pull Tim Curry aside and said, I need a favor.
Yeah.
And they go down and Tim Curry's with them, and Tim Curry offers her a job working at the hotel, and she can stay in a closed down staff room or something.
Yeah.
Until she gets back on her feet. She works at Duncan's Toy Chest. Something to where you know that he's positively impacted her life.
Right.
More than just, oh, I'll always remember you.
Yeah.
While I'm homeless in Central Park.
Yeah.
That ending kind of hurts some of my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But overall, it's still fun. I still got to watch it after watching Home Alone. But I think the girls enjoy the first one more.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed, like I said, this has always been a top 3 movie for me. But this year, with both of our girls watching it, just makes it that much better.
And I always felt like with, the reason why it's, number 2 is not as good as the first one is because you really feel like the whole family didn't really learn a lesson from the first one. How many times is Kevin going to be punished because somebody else did something, is picking on him, is doing something to him? How many times is he going to be the one punished for that?
Yeah, because they tried to play it off that Kevin is like a bad
troublemaker and stuff like that.
No, Buzz is the troublemaker. All of
He's
his
a
brothers,
bully. Buzz is a bully.
He's a bully, and all of his brothers and sisters and his cousins treat Kevin like crap.
Yeah.
And then turn around when he says something in return. How dare you say that? And it's just like, you've been treating him like hell this whole time, and he says something back, and he's the bad guy. I mean, it's. That's one of the...
He defends himself and you get on his case for it?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we get behind Kevin, because he is the wronged character.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I just want to bring up, there's a rumored alternate version of the first film. It was never filmed. It was in the planning stages, in the script writing stages.
Okay.
Because the character of Uncle Frank...
The cheapskate,
the rude uncle, was originally written for a much bigger actor.
Okay.
That part was written with Kelsey Grammer in mind.
Really?
And this was back when he was known for Frasier Crane.
Right.
I think he was still on Cheers, but he was recognized. He was a major player. And the part was supposed to be bigger because it's confirmed that it was supposed to be, Kelsey Grammer, but he declined the part. But the reason for a bigger actor is because Uncle Frank was going to be a much more substantial part of the overall story. He was going to be the mastermind behind everything.
Really?
Uncle Frank, and again, this is just a rumored story detail, but it's been passed around for a little while now that Uncle Frank was going to be the one that hired the Wet Bandits to rob his brother's house. Uncle Frank hated Kevin so much that he arranged for Buzz to eat all of Kevin's pizza, knowing how Kevin would react, knowing that there would be some kind of commotion to where he could get Kevin's plane ticket out of the way. He arranged for the power to be knocked out somehow. It was going to be all Uncle Frank doing this to leave Kevin at home so his brother could be knocked down a notch, have his $1 million house robbed, and his annoying son killed.
Really? That's dark.
Dark and twisted.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those things where I would love, in the multiverse theory, I'd love to see the universe where that was Home Alone, and it's the favorite horror film of Christmas.
It's a Christmas horror film.
Yeah, like Black Christmas.
Like Krampus or something like that.
So, with how much you know me, I think you probably know what number 1 is going to be for me.
I'm trying to think of the movie that we've already talked about.
So running down my list, it was Love Actually, Harold and Kumar Christmas, Christmas Story, Home Alone.
Okay. I'm looking up there.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation.
I'm half asleep right now.
That's fine.
So because it's like 11:30.
Yeah, we're recording late tonight, but Christmas Vacation, I've loved this film since I was a kid. And the reason that it is number one on my list now, and has been for a few years, is being a husband, being a father, being a family man. And I've come to relate to Clark Griswold more and more as I get older. When we go on vacations and like the car breaks down, I'm always just behind the wheel, just ready to freak out, like he does at the end of Vacation. I think you're all f***ed in the head. We're 10 hours from the fun park, and you want to bail now. I've always joked that when we go on vacations, because of all the problems that we've had, we've got to play Holiday Road. But being a family man now, I really relate to Clark now, and I watch Christmas Vacation, and I'm like, that's the kind of I wanted, have that perfect family Christmas. I can relate to everything that he is going through, and it just makes it that much more funny to me and that much more endearing, and just everything that happens to him. I feel so bad for the guy by the end of it. And I've been at other jobs where one year you get a Christmas bonus and the next year they're like, yeah, whatever. It's like, it wasn't much. It was $50, but still I could use that for whatever. And there's just so much more to relate to with that film being at the age and at this point in my life, that it's number one for me. We haven't watched it yet because I don't want to burn out on it. Right. But I will probably definitely watch it at least twice before Christmas Day itself. But for me, it ties with Christmas Vacation, or Original Vacation, as the best of the vacation films. Yeah. It is just I don't want to call it like a laugh a minute, but it is gut busting hilarious, and it's sweet. It's very earnest. It is a very serious comedy, goofy when it needs to be, but it really, that's one of the reasons that we've talked in the past where you really like Vegas Vacation. I don't care for it because I feel like it went a little too hokey with the comedy. And I don't deny that, but it's just because I lived in Vegas for so long that you relate to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But with this, it's one of those last bastions of like where they're taking the comedy seriously. Yeah. And it's very earnest approach to everything. And there was one joke in it that is so minor, and I never really realized it until I was older. Because when I was younger, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. But now as an adult, I'm looking at this going, why did they put the two kids in the same bed and then put the married couple in the bunk bed? Why didn't they swap that? It was just so Grandpa could be sitting there staring at the bikini poster on the roof of. But on that the underside of that one bunk. Yeah. But then the sister's all like, what did she say to him? Like, move over, you little fungus, or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just like, why didn't she just put them in the bunk beds? I mean, and then that one moment in when Audrey is talking to her mom in the kitchen, I'm sleeping with my brother. Do you have any idea how sick that is? Well, I'm sleeping with your father. We all have to make sacrifices. Don't be so dramatic. Don't be so dramatic. And it's like, well, you're supposed to be sleeping with her father. Yeah. If you weren't, they wouldn't be there. But it's Beverly D'Angelo and Chevy Chase in the best roles they've ever done. And I love that she actually calls him Sparky now. Yeah, because that they are that close that to this day, if they're together for anything, she legitimately calls Chevy Chase Sparky. And then Beverly D'Angelo is in the first Harold and Kumar. Second. Was it the second one? Second, yeah. It's that's right. It's when they escape from Guantanamo Bay and get with Neil Patrick Harris again. He takes them to a whorehouse, and she's the madam of this Texas
Yeah.
whorehouse.
I'm going to a whorehouse and I'm gonna get my on.
God, we gotta watch that now. But you just Christmas Vacation is, you know how I said that with Christmas Story, you think of Christmas like an old-fashioned Christmas,
Right.
and that's what you think of. For me, when I think of a modern Christmas, I think of Christmas Vacation, even though it's late 80s.
I was gonna say this isn't really a modern movie anymore.
But it's they're watching the parades on TV. They're doing a lot of more modern stuff. The dad's outside putting up the Christmas lights,
yeah.
and you can relate to it on a more modern level than you can Christmas Story. And then the annoying neighbors, Todd and Margot, and it's just overall, I can't think of a weak part of this movie. All the characters are great. Cousin Eddie is in top form in this movie. And then at the end, they bring in Aunt Bethany, who's this just deaf little old lady. And it's the voice of Betty Boop.
Yeah.
And so if you really listen, you've got Betty Boop walking around going, "Don't throw me down, Clark. Is your house on fire, Clark? Is Rusty still in the Navy?" And it's the one movie where they swap the ages of the children.
Of Audrey and Rusty, yeah.
And they don't make any reference to it. Well, here's the thing is, it was Rusty, but in the other ones it was just Russ and Russell. So I'm wondering if they're trying to insinuate that there's a third kid that just vanishes. But now that we're talking about it, I think tomorrow I'm going to have to put it on.
Yeah.
You're going to the movies with my mom tomorrow.
I like watching it though. And so you're gonna watch that with the kids around and just.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't because of the pool fantasy scene with Malika Likimaka playing in the background.
But was another part with Aunt Bethany that I always think of that they're gonna have Aunt Bethany say Grace, she passed away 30 years ago.
I love that they did a Hallmark Christmas Vacation ornament a while back, like a year or two ago. And when you press the button, it's Aunt Bethany doing the Pledge of Allegiance. But it's just one of those movies that just makes me feel good and really just puts me into the Christmas spirit. And I'm big into Christmas and I'm big into my family, so that's like the perfect capper for Christmas for me. So, do you have any other films that you just wanted to bring up real quick, and just something to note? Or
no, I mean I said every single one on my list.
And right now we're just taking a second. We're looking at our collection here, and we've hit all the big ones, and we've talked about every single movie up here. Except for one I wanted to throw out there. You're going to find it under the title Dark Angel. And that's not what it was known by. It came out in like 89, 90. And when it first came out, it was called I Come in Peace. And for the longest time, I forgot that this took place at Christmas.
Why'd they change the title?
Like international marketing. And stuff like that.
Like how in every other country the professional is called Leon. Exactly.
And so now in the States it's called Dark Angel, where everywhere, when it was first released here, it was I Come in Peace. Because that's what the damn alien says throughout the whole movie. I come in peace. But it takes place at Christmas. It is just a ridiculous 80s, 90s cop action film with a sci-fi twist starring Dolph Lundgren. So it's not about acting. It's just ridiculous moments. There's a, in all of these, like in Tango and Cash, they had like that tech that worked for the police department who was like this mad scientist coming up with all of these guns. He was like the Q branch for the cops. They have a scientist working for the cops here, who is supposed to explain this alien technology, who's a caffeine fiend. So he's like shaking the whole time, and he's like getting his caffeine pills off the counter, and he goes, okay, what was I going to do? Okay, hold on for a second. And he turns, ah! Okay, now where was I? Just stops to scream. But it is such a ridiculous film. We've got it on Blu-ray because I grew up with that movie, and finally it's on Blu-ray. You can actually watch it on YouTube. I found it on YouTube. It's
really?
Dark Angel. It is just hokey. It's one of those that, just because it takes place at Christmas, it's an excuse to go, hey, you want to put on a weird Christmas movie and watch? Let's watch Dolph Lundgren fight a even bigger alien who is on this planet to shoot people up with heroin so they overdose, and then he can suck out their adrenaline because adrenaline is their drug on their planet.
Intergalactic drug dealer.
Exactly. It is ridiculous, but a lot of fun. So that wraps it up. Just our favorite Christmas movies, the ones to get us in the spirit of the holiday. So I hope you had fun listening to this. I love just sitting here with my wife and shooting the shit about our favorite movies.
Even if no one listens to it, we're just like, yeah, it's fun, whatever.
Yeah, this is enjoyment for us, so we hope you enjoy it. And if you've got any questions or you want to suggest a topic, just shoot us an email. It's the Containment Unit Podcast at gmail.com. And we're on Facebook, facebook.com/the Containment Unit Podcast. Have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe and
drink lots of nog.
Drink lots of nog.
With plenty of rum in it.
Get drunk, be merry, and have a good one.
Bye.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.